Welcome to Fractured Chaos.
You ever had someone look you dead in the eye, smile politely in front of everyone, and then turn around and call you a gold-digging whore behind your back? Yeah, that was my future father-in-law, and he picked the wrong woman to try. Let me paint you a picture of Raul Santiago. 6'2", salt and pepper hair, slicked back like he stepped out of a cologne commercial. The kind of man who wears Italian leather shoes to barbecues and checks his Rolex during grace. He owns Santiago Automotive, 7 dealerships across 3 states, and never lets you forget it. His handshake could crush walnuts, his smile could sell ice to Eskimos, and his ego could fill a football stadium. When Carlos first told me about his dad, he used words like driven and successful. What he didn't mention was that Raul Santiago measured every human interaction like a stock transaction, and apparently, I was a risky investment. It started with a phone call on a Friday morning. Carlos and I had just announced our engagement the night before. We'd done the whole social media song and dance, ring photo with the perfect lighting, caption that made our friends gag with its sweetness. Forever starts now. I was still riding that post-engagement high, fielding congratulations texts and planning our celebration dinner. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Miranda, this is Raul Santiago, Carlos's father. His voice was smooth, controlled. The voice of a man accustomed to getting what he wanted. Oh, hi, Mr. Santiago. I was hoping we'd get to talk soon. Cut the pleasantries. I'm going to be very direct because that's how I do business, and make no mistake, this is business. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. I know your type, Miranda. Girls like you see a man like my son, successful, handsome, from a good family, and you think, jackpot. You think you've won the lottery, but I see through you. I actually laughed. I couldn't help it. It was so absurd, so perfectly villainous, that I thought maybe this was some elaborate prank Carlos had set up. I'm sorry, did you just... I'll give you $10,000 to walk away. Cash, today. No wedding, no drama, no explanations. Just disappear from my son's life. The laughter died in my throat. And before you get any ideas about running to Carlos with this conversation, he doesn't need to know. This stays between us. Take the money, break up with him however you want, and everyone moves on with their lives. I should have hung up. Should have immediately called Carlos and told him his father was certifiably insane. Instead, something cold and calculating settled in my chest. 10,000, I said, keeping my voice steady. That's it? You want more? No, Mr. Santiago, I was just wondering, is that what you think your son is worth? Because honestly, it seems a little low. The silence stretched between us like a taut wire. You have until Friday to decide. Don't make me up the ante in ways you won't like. He hung up. I sat there staring at my phone, replaying the conversation. The sheer audacity of it, the casual cruelty, the assumption that I was some kind of predator circling his precious son. But here's the thing about underestimating people. It usually comes back to bite you in the ass. I didn't tell Carlos. Not yet. Because if I was going to war with Raul Santiago, I needed ammunition. And something told me that a man who casually offered bribes to his son's fiance probably had other skeletons rattling around in his designer closet. So I played nice. The following weekend, we had dinner with Carlos's family at their house. And when I say house, I mean the kind of sprawling suburban palace that screams, I have more money than taste. Everything was beige and gold and oversized, like someone had let a lottery winner loose in a furniture showroom. Raul answered the door with the biggest smile I'd ever seen, arms spread wide like we were long-lost friends. Miranda, there she is, the woman who stole my son's heart. He pulled me into a hug that lasted just a beat too long, his cologne, something expensive and cloying, filling my nostrils. When he pulled back, his hands lingered on my shoulders. You look beautiful, mija, absolutely radiant. Carlos, you're a lucky man. The performance was flawless, Academy Award worthy. He poured me wine, asked about dress colors, inquired about my family with what seemed like genuine interest. If I hadn't heard his voice dripping with contempt just days earlier, I might have actually liked him. But I'm a good actress too. I smiled, laughed at his jokes, complimented the house. I played the grateful future daughter-in-law while mentally taking notes. Teresa, Carlos's mom, was a different story entirely. Where Raul was all flash and presence, she was quiet elegance. Silver hair in a perfect bob, laugh lines around kind eyes. The sort of woman who probably volunteered at animal shelters and remembered everyone's birthday. She fussed over me like I was already family, showing me photo albums and sharing embarrassing Carlos stories. It was during dessert that she casually dropped the first breadcrumb. "Raul's been traveling so much lately for work," she said, spooning flan onto my plate. "Miami especially. I joked that he should just get an apartment there with how often he's flying down." She laughed. Raul didn't. I filed that away. Later, as Carlos walked me to my car, I mentioned his dad's travel schedule. "Miami?" Carlos looked confused. "Dad's been going to Chicago for dealer conferences, has been for months." Someone was lying, and something told me it wasn't Carlos. That night, I created a burner Instagram account. Cute profile picture. Nothing too obvious, just a stock photo of a girl with dark hair. Username, Sparkle Girl MIA with a little diamond emoji. I followed a bunch of Miami-based accounts. Restaurants, salons, fitness studios, the usual suspects. I started looking for patterns, for faces that appeared too often, for relationships that seemed complicated. That's when I found Chloe Restrepo. Mid-30s, bleached blonde hair, enhanced everything else. Her Instagram was a carefully curated collection of designer handbags, champagne flutes, and captions about living my best life, and when the right man treats you right, you don't ask questions. But it was the wrist in one of her photos that caught my attention. A man's wrist. Expensive watch. Gold band, white face, with a distinctive scratch on the side. The same scratch I'd noticed on Raul's Rolex, the one he'd gotten from a golf accident years ago. I screenshot everything, the watch, the geotags showing her at expensive Miami restaurants, the hotel lobby photos from the Fontainebleau Miami Beach. And then I did some digging on the hotel's website. Guest name, R. Santiago. Dates, every other weekend for the past 6 months. The same weekends Teresa thought her husband was in Chicago. But the real kicker came when I spotted the bracelet in one of Chloe's more recent posts. Delicate gold chain with a distinctive butterfly charm. I'd seen that bracelet before on Teresa's wrist at dinner. Raul had given it to her for their anniversary, made a big show of presenting it in front of the whole family. Except apparently he'd liked it so much he'd bought 2. I showed Carlos everything. Laid it all out on his kitchen table like pieces of a puzzle. Screenshots, hotel records I'd somehow managed to access, side-by-side photos of the bracelets. Carlos stared at the evidence for a long time, his jaw working silently. "There has to be an explanation," he finally said. "An explanation? I mean, maybe it's not what it looks like. Maybe she's a business associate or..." "Carlos." I grabbed his hands, forced him to look at me. "Your father offered me $10,000 to leave you last Friday. He called me a gold digger and told me to disappear." His face went through about 6 different emotions in the span of 10 seconds. "He what?" "He said he knew my type. Said girls like me see guys like you and think we've hit the jackpot. Then he offered me cash to walk away and never tell you about it." Carlos stood up abruptly, pacing to the window. "That's... Jesus, Miranda, why didn't you tell me?" "Because I wanted proof. Because I had a feeling that a man who bribes his son's fiancée probably has other secrets." "So you investigated him?" "I protected us. Because apparently your father thinks I'm some kind of threat to the family fortune." Carlos was quiet for a long moment, staring out at the street. "What do you want to do?" he asked finally. I want him to know that he picked the wrong woman to underestimate. Miranda, he doesn't get to do this, Carlos. He doesn't get to treat people like they're for sale and then go home to your mother like he's some pillar of morality. It's complicated. Those two words hung in the air like a challenge. No, it's not. It's actually pretty simple. Your father is a cheating, manipulative asshole who thinks money solves everything. And if we don't call him out, he's going to keep doing it. He's still my father, and Teresa is still your mother. Don't you think she deserves to know? Carlos ran his hands through his hair, the weight of the decision visible in every line of his body. If we do this, there's no going back. The family will never be the same. The family is already broken, Carlos. It's just wearing a pretty mask. 3 weeks later, we were at the Santiago family reunion. 87 people packed into a pavilion at the local park. Enough matching t-shirts to outfit a small army and more potato salad than anyone could reasonably consume. It was peak suburban family gathering. Kids running around with sparklers, uncles arguing about football, aunts comparing vacation photos. Raul held court at the center of it all, grilling burgers and holding forth about business success and family values. He wore his patriarch role like a custom-tailored suit, commanding attention and respect from 3 generations of Santiagos. I watched him work the crowd, noting how easily the lies rolled off his tongue. How he kissed Teresa's cheek and complimented her dress while probably texting Chloe about their next Miami weekend. After dinner, he stood up to give his traditional reunion speech, the one Carlos said he'd been giving for 15 years, about legacy and staying true to your values and the importance of family above all else. The Santiago name means something, he declared, raising his beer. It means integrity. It means loyalty. It means we take care of our own and we don't compromise our principles for anyone or anything. The applause was enthusiastic. I waited for it to die down. Then I stood up. Actually, I'd like to say something too. Carlos grabbed my hand, his eyes wide with panic. Miranda, don't. But I was already moving, walking to the front of the pavilion where Raul stood frozen, his smile beginning to waver. I just want to thank the Santiago family for welcoming me with open arms, I began, my voice carrying clearly in the suddenly quiet space. Especially Raul, who's been so generous in fact, that he once offered me $10,000 to disappear from Carlos's life. You could have heard a pin drop. Someone's fork clattered to the ground. Miranda, Carlos whispered urgently, stop. But I was just getting started. He said he knew my type, called me a gold digger basically, said girls like me see successful men like Carlos and think we've hit the jackpot. Raul's face had gone pale, but he was still trying to maintain his composure. Miranda, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Oh, there's been a misunderstanding, all right. See, I'm not actually a gold digger, but I'm pretty good at digging up gold. And boy, did I strike a rich vein. I pulled out my phone, connected it to the little portable speaker someone had brought for music. The screen projected onto the white wall of the pavilion. I'd planned this part carefully. I'd like everyone to meet Chloe Restrepo, Raul's, what would you call her, Raul? Business associate. The photos filled the screen, Chloe's Instagram feed in all its glory. The hotel selfies, the expensive dinners, the bracelet shots. That's the Fontainebleau Miami Beach, by the way. Beautiful hotel. Raul's been staying there every other weekend for 6 months. Funny thing is, Teresa thought he was in Chicago for work. Teresa had gone completely still, her face a mask of confusion and dawning horror. And that bracelet Chloe's wearing, the gold one with the butterfly charm, isn't that sweet, Raul? You bought matching ones for both your women. The silence was deafening. Somewhere in the back, a child started crying, but even that seemed muted by the weight of what was happening. Raul's mask finally slipped completely. The charming patriarch disappeared, replaced by something cold and calculating. You think this is the first time? He said, his voice cutting through the silence like a blade. You think your precious Teresa doesn't know exactly who she married? She's known for years. We have an arrangement. It was like watching a controlled demolition, the careful facade he'd built over decades crumbling in real time. Teresa stood up slowly, her face white as paper. Raul, what? It's true. You want your comfortable life, your nice house, your status in the community. I want my freedom. We both get what we need. Not anymore. She said it quietly, but everyone heard. Then she turned and walked away, her dignity intact even as her world fell apart. Carlos followed her, shooting me a look I couldn't quite read. The reunion dissolved after that. People packed up their potato salad and their awkward small talk and their matching t-shirts, whispering among themselves about what they'd just witnessed. Raul found me by my car as I was leaving. "Congratulations," he said, his voice flat. "You got what you wanted. I wanted you to stop underestimating me. Mission accomplished. You destroyed my family. Your family was already destroyed. I just stopped pretending it wasn't." He studied my face for a long moment. "You know what? Maybe I was wrong about you. You're not a gold digger." "No kidding. You're something much worse. You're dangerous." I smiled. Finally, a compliment from dear old Dad. Carlos didn't speak to me for 3 days. When he finally showed up at my apartment, he looked like he'd aged 10 years. "Mom left him," he said without preamble. "She's staying with my Aunt Elena." "I'm sorry." "Are you? Because you seem pretty satisfied with the carnage you left behind." "I deserved that. I'm sorry your family is hurting. I'm not sorry that the truth came out." He slumped into my couch, head in his hands. I keep thinking, if I'd just stood up to him earlier, if I'd believed you right away instead of making excuses. "Carlos, I was so worried about keeping the peace that I let him treat you like garbage. And I let him lie to my mother for God knows how long." I sat beside him, careful not to touch. "What do you want to do? About us, I mean." "I want to marry you," he said immediately. "But I also want to understand why I was so willing to protect him, why I prioritized his comfort over your dignity." "Therapy? Lots of therapy. And maybe we postpone the wedding, just for a while, until I figure out how to be the kind of man who stands up for the woman he loves, instead of the kind who makes excuses for his father." We spent the next 8 months in couples counseling. Carlos worked through decades of conditioning, learning to recognize the difference between loyalty and enabling. I worked through my own anger, acknowledging that maybe, just maybe, public humiliation hadn't been the most mature way to handle the situation. But here's the thing. Sometimes you have to burn something down completely before you can build it back up right. Teresa filed for divorce 6 weeks after the reunion. She moved into a condo downtown, started taking pottery classes, joined a book club. When I saw her at the grocery store a few months later, she looked 10 years younger. "Thank you," she said simply. "I know it wasn't easy what you did, but I needed to know." Carlos cut all business ties with his father, walked away from the dealership empire he was supposed to inherit, started his own consulting firm, specializing in helping family businesses navigate succession planning. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. Raul, meanwhile, seemed determined to prove that his son and ex-wife were better off without him. He moved to Miami permanently, installed Chloe in a waterfront condo, and started showing up to charity galas with women half his age. His Instagram feed became a parade of yacht parties and casino nights, each post screaming, "Look how happy I am," a little too loudly. But karma, as they say, is a patient bitch. Last week, I got a message from an account I didn't recognize. When I opened it, I nearly choked on my coffee. It was Chloe. "Hey girl," the message read. "I know this is weird, but I found your Instagram through Raul's family photos. I need to ask you something. How did you know? About the cheating, I mean. Because I think he's doing it to me too." The screenshot that followed showed a hotel receipt from the Four Seasons in Scottsdale. Guest name, R. Santiago. Dates, last weekend. The same weekend, Chloe had posted pictures from Miami, wondering why Raul had suddenly had to cancel their trip. I stared at the message for a long time before typing back. Want to meet for coffee? I have some stories to tell you. Because apparently, Raul Santiago never learned the most important lesson from our little family reunion showdown. When you make a habit of underestimating the women in your life, eventually one of them is going to make you pay for it. And this time, I wouldn't even have to lift a finger. Some graves, it turns out, dig themselves. Carlos and I are getting married next month. Small ceremony, just close friends and family. Teresa is walking me down the aisle. My own father passed away when I was 12, and she insisted it would be her honor. Raul wasn't invited, but I have a feeling he'll hear about it anyway. Bad news, after all, travels fast. And in the Santiago family, I'm probably still the worst news of all. Good. I like my reputation exactly where it is. After all, the next time someone tries to buy me off or call me names or underestimate what I'm capable of, they'll know exactly what they're dealing with. A woman who doesn't dig for gold, a woman who buries it, and always, always marks the grave.